Coming up on today's show, we're going to dive into what Joe Schoen had to say at the Senior Bowl. He met with the media and he talked about what the Giants are going to do in the NFL draft, and he hinted that Big Blue could select a quarterback number 6 overall. We'll touch on that. Also, we have an update on the defensive coordinator search. One name is no longer in the running as they are now a defensive coordinator for an AFC team. We'll touch on who the favorite is leading up until the weekend. And also, Joe Schoen shared some thoughts on Saquon Barkley and his upcoming free agency. A lot to get into on today's show. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, though, because we're going to continue to put out free, informative, entertaining, passion-driven content all off-season long. We are your one-stop shop for everything Big Blue on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and help us get to 43,000 subscribers. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Let's get into it as we got a bunch to talk about. Joe Schoen at the Senior Bowl. He was pretty much asked, what is the Giants' plan going to be as they hold that 6th overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft? And I thought he had a pretty interesting answer. Quote, where we are, we're in a good spot at 6. We're going to look at every position we have needs across the board, offensively and defensively. Daniel Jones, he's in the building every day working hard. The expectation is for him to be the starter when he's healthy going into camp, and we're going to be thorough with our process at every position during the draft, regardless whether it's quarterback, running back, safety, corner, whatever it is, we will take a good football player at the 6th overall pick. And the more and more I kind of talk to some people, and the more and more I kind of learn about this situation, I truly do believe if there is a quarterback in this draft class, whether it be Caleb Williams, whether it be Drake Maye, whether it be Jayden Daniels, Michael Penix, or J.J. McCarthy, if there is a quarterback that Joe Schoen falls in love through as he goes through this rigorous process from the Senior Bowl to the Combine to the workouts, I believe he would take him in the first round. Joe Schoen knows that if he drafts a rookie quarterback this year, that is going to give him a longer timetable to turn this whole thing around. A little caveat to that is this, though. Drafting a quarterback in the first round, drafting a quarterback in the top 10 more so, is not just a general manager's decision. Joe Schoen is not the only one that's going to make this call. He's also got to sell the Maras and the Tishes, who love Daniel Jones. It is an ownership decision when you draft a quarterback this high in the first round. And the Giants are somewhat in a unique spot as they have Daniel Jones under contract for this year, and then they will have an option following this upcoming season. And they could look to follow that Green Bay model that they followed with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, or the Kansas City model with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. They could look to follow that. I'm not saying that is the best idea, but we know Daniel Jones is at least going to be on this football team for one more year. And with that already pretty much set in stone, they could look for him to start this year and draft a rookie and have him sit for the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season. But you throw a little bit of a wrench in there because the question is, will Daniel Jones be ready to go in week 1? Remember, he is battling back from a torn ACL that he suffered in week 9. And when you look at what other quarterbacks in recent history in the National Football League and their timetable when they've come back from ACLs, it's really up in the air if Jones, who tore that ACL in week 9, will be ready to go. Kyler Murray back in 2022 tore his ACL in week 14. He wasn't ready to play until week 10 of the following season. Joe Burrow did what Daniel Jones hopes he could do. Tears ACL in week 11. Jones, week 9, was ready to go in week 1. Jimmy Garoppolo, he tore his ACL at the beginning part of 2018. Week 3, he needed an entire calendar year to almost be ready. Deshaun Watson is the timetable, though, that I'm sure Jones, his trainers, and his medical staff, and the Giants' medical staff are hoping to follow. The exact same timeline. Week 9, hoping to go week 1. Carson Wentz, one of the fastest recovery times. He got hurt week 14. He was ready to go week 3. And I understand what the Giants may do by trotting him out there next year. But for me personally, I would just rip the Band-Aid off when it comes to Daniel Jones. Do we honestly believe that Daniel Jones with one more year is going to show us that the contract he signed was right? I don't believe so. I've seen enough. I know who he is. I know what his ceiling is, and I know what he can do for a football team. For me, it's simply not good enough to put the Giants at the back at the top, once again, of the National Football League. Jones is going to be on this team next year. We're going to be looking at 2024, following the 2024 season, when he is off this football team. Following this year, the Giants have an opportunity to cut Daniel Jones, and they have just $22 million of dead cap of a salary cap hit for 2025. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Jones will play this year, whether he is backed up by a rookie quarterback or a veteran quarterback in free agency. Jones will be on the roster, and they will cut him after this year unless he just has an epic season, and they'll carry a $22 million dead cap hit. But once free agency gets here for the Giants and Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll go about rebuilding this football team, we are going to learn what their plan is for this position. Because if the Giants go out and they go out and make it a priority to pay somewhat big-ish money to a veteran quarterback, that tells me that they are not going to draft a quarterback in the first round. But let's say the Giants pass on signing a guy like Tyrod Taylor or Jacoby Brissett or Ryan Tannehill or Sam Darnold or Jameis Winston, who are some of the top free agent quarterbacks. If the Giants pass up on signing one of these guys, that kind of leads you to believe that they are eyeing a quarterback in round 1 or round 2. That's just kind of the way the calendar goes. You got free agency first, and then you got the draft. And then if the Giants don't draft a quarter or sign a quarterback, I believe they're going to draft one. And I'd be a pretty dang happy camper. Maybe it's not round 1. Maybe it is round 2. They're getting an up-close and personal look at Bo Nix and Michael Penix right now, or both are participating at the Senior Bowl. Maybe you can get one of those guys in round 2. Maybe you trade back into the back half of round 1, and you get a guy like J.J. McCarthy. It's going to be a long off season, and we're going to keep you up to date on everything. Let me know, though, if you were Joe Schoen, what would be the path that you would follow to improve the quarterback position? Type R if you would draft a rookie, D if you would run it back with Daniel Jones, or if you'd go out and sign a veteran QB, type V. We're going to talk about the DC search, Saquon Barkley, and so much more coming up. But first, I got to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. When you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, the number 1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, and use the promo code CLNS, PrizePicks will match your initial deposit up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. You create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply choose more or less on their projected stat line. I've already got my lineup ready for the Super Bowl, and they're giving you a freebie, and you should take the more on passing yards for Patrick Mahomes, because if he doesn't throw for 1 passing yards, you might be in a little bit of trouble. I'm also going to go with the more for Brock Purdy on his rushing yards as well. He got a little bit active outside the pocket last week. I also think Isaiah Pacheco is going to get in the end zone. I got more on his rushing TDs, and also give me the more on Kyle Juszczyk. Man, he just gets it done for the San Francisco 49ers. You can roll with my picks, or you can fade my picks, but if you're going to play daily fantasy sports, I kindly ask you to do it with our proud sponsor, PrizePicks, the number 1 daily fantasy sports app in North America. Easy and exciting. It's fun. Get ready for the Super Bowl. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. Joe Schoen also spoke about the defensive coordinator search in Mobile, Alabama. Mobile, Alabama. What a town. What a town. Joe Schoen said this, though, about the defensive coordinator search. Hopefully, by the end of the week, we'll have some resolution at the defensive coordinator position. They will have their Wink Martindale replacements. I think these are the top 3 guys at the position right now. Currently, you got Dennard Wilson, who is the DB coach for the Baltimore Ravens last year. You got Jerome Henderson, an internal option, DB coach of your own football team last year. And then Anthony Campanelli, the linebacker coach for the Miami Dolphins. I started to watch some Hard Knocks, the in-season version, and every time Anthony Campanelli speaks, man, he gets my heart jumping a little bit. That guy is a badass. Dennard Wilson, has also received interest from the Tennessee Titans, Los Angeles Rams, and Green Bay Packers for their DC vacancies. The Giants requested an interview with the interim Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator, Derek Ansley, but there have been no reports that they actually conducted an interview. And then Bobby Babich is staying with the Bills as their new defensive coordinator, and Shane Bowen could be the next Titans defensive coordinator. So Bowen, Babich, and Ansley don't really sound like they're in the race. The guy that I think is leading the pack, though, is Dennard Wilson, who has interviewed already twice for this position. Kind of the sticking point, though, is he may be in line to be the next defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, and he may be dragging that out, saying, I'll come be the Giants DC as long as I'm not the Ravens DC, as they're most likely going to have to fill that vacancy this offseason. I think it's going to be Dennard Wilson. I'm also going to hold out a little bit of, I don't want to say hope, but I also think that there may be an interview with Leslie Frazier coming down the line. He just had his first defensive coordinator interview this past week. Kind of did not get hired in the head coach process. So also keep your eyes on Frazier. Joe Schoen was also asked about what type of defense the Giants were going to play next year and if it was going to be defensive coordinator dependent. And I loved his answer. The way we're built, we could be a 4-3 or a 3-4 defense. We drafted that way where we're not pigeonholed into one certain scheme. Where the personnel is on defense right now, whether it's 4-3 or 3-4, I think we can go out and play. And I've gotten this question 1,000 times. Marshall, what do you like more, 4-3 or 3-4? And for me, I don't really care because, look, if you play 75 downs in a football game on the defensive side of the ball, 50 of those 75 at minimum downs, you are playing in your sub package. You're either in a lighter front. You're either in a more heavy linebacker sub package. You're either in the nickel. You're in the dime. You're in the dollar. Like, you rarely play in your sub package outside of third and short or in the goal line. Even then, you might go a jumbo or a heavy set. So I don't want everyone to get so hung up on the 4-3 and the 3-4 when it comes to these defensive coordinators. Giants have multi-skilled players. Like Kayvon can put his hand in the dirt or play on the edge. Dexter Lawrence can play the nose or he can play the D-tackle position. You play a lot of sub-packages, a lot of nickel, a lot of dime. Don't get hung up on 4-3, 3-4. Let's close the show, though, talking about Saquon Barkley as he is a free agent. Giants are going to have to make a decision on him, whether it's a franchise tag and trade, re-sign, or you just let him walk in free agency. Joe Schoen, also at the Senior Bowl, said he is going to meet with Saquon Barkley's representatives at the NFL Combine coming up, I believe in March. The running back franchise tag is $12.4 million. So that's kind of the number I believe Saquon Barkley is going to ask for. Maybe he wants a 2-year, $25 million deal. I'm sure he'll want 3 years, $36 million. But $12.4 million this year. And I remember an interview last year when Joe Schoen was asked about the franchise tag. He made it a pretty clear point that he doesn't always have to want to use that. He doesn't want to always have to pay someone a top 5 salary number at their position and really take on all of that money at one time as a dead cap hit. It's a tool to use and it can help your football team get better, but he made it seem like last year he didn't want to always have to use it. The Pro Football Focus Saquon Barkley contract projection is 2 years, $22 million with $15 million guaranteed. Look, if this is the deal on the table, I would be very happy if the Giants were able to get Saquon Barkley to sign this contract. For me personally, and some things I've heard, I don't think this is a number that Saquon Barkley is looking to accept. But the thing is, Barkley wasn't as good this year as he was last year. And you could look at that multiple ways, right? Giants' offensive line was worse this year. Their offense was worse this year. But I just feel like Saquon, even though I think he's still a really good football player, his best days are behind him. But I would still pay him that money of the projected contract, and I would still franchise tag him because I think he's worth every bit of that $12 million. The guy is a one-man band at times, and he can change the game with just one touch. But we got to face the facts that his best football is behind him. Let's go through a series of stats here. Forced missed tackles. He had less forced missed tackles this year compared to last year. He had less 10-yard rushes this year than he did last year. I mean, 32 in 2022 is awesome. Only 25 10-plus yard rushes this year. Let's take it a step further. 15-plus yard rushes. 18 in 2022. 2023 only had 12. So less forced missed tackles, less big plays. He's not as good as he once was, and I hope that doesn't come off as me being disrespectful because he is still a special back. I still think Saquon Barkley is a top 6 or top 7 back in this football league. But I don't think he's top 5 anymore. I don't think you should be asking for Christian McCaffrey money. I think 2 years, 23, 24, 25 million is very, very fair. But my question to Saquon Barkley is this. Why do you want to be here? Seriously, what is your true intention and wanting to be a member of the New York Football Giants? You said in a recent interview with Complex Sports that you could see yourself in another jersey and you'd love to help another team to win a Super Bowl. As much as I love this football team and as much as I bleed New York Giants blue, the Giants are not even close to competing for a Lombardi trophy. So why do you want to be here? So you can say you only played for the Giants, so you could be like Eli Manning or Strahan or all the players that were once a Giant, always a Giant, only a Giant? If that's the only reason you want to be here, I don't know. What I would say to you is this. I want a guy here that wants to do everything he can to help this team win football games. I just don't understand why he'd want to be here. And that's almost saying that I think there's greener pastures out there for him. I will say this. My brother sent me a DM on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, of some Saquon Barkley rookie year highlights. And man, oh man, that guy was special. I've kind of had in my mind and my eyes has kind of been telling me that Saquon's abilities have kind of taken a step back, and that's natural, right? Multiple injuries, going to be 27 in this year. But man, that guy was special. That guy was somebody different. That first run he had against the Jacksonville Jaguars, that guy was a special ball player. What do you think the Giants should do with Barkley? What to do with Saquon? Type 1 for re-sign, 2 for franchise tag, 3 for trade. Let me know what you think down below. For me, it's 2 simple options. Option number 1, I'm going to franchise tag him. I know that Dan Duggan of The Athletic doesn't think that's a good idea. That's what I think is a good idea. And option number 2, I'd offer him 2 years, $25 million, $15 million guaranteed. So pretty much 1 year fully guaranteed and then a partial guarantee for year 2. I think both these are fair. Who knows, though, if Saquon Barkley is willing to sacrifice so he can stay a member of this team and help this team become a little bit better. As always, just want to say thank you and appreciate you. A lot of stuff we talked about on today's show. You can follow me over here on social media to stay in the loop as well. At @MarshallGreen_ on X. I hate saying that. On Twitter and Instagram. Follow the kid over there, and let's go G-Men.